Well, hello everybody and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make some oat and walnut cookies. I did mention a couple of videos ago that I had some walnuts that needed to be used up, and even after this recipe I still have some more, but this is going to use some of those up. It's going to be a lovely cookie that has a firm exterior or outside, but is also nice and chewy, and it's going to have that earthy oat flavour as well as the walnut flavour, and also flavoured with some golden syrup which has a slight caramel flavour. That's the sweetening element of the cookies. It's not difficult, the recipe, but it's going to take a little bit of time because the dough is very soft, so we need to put it in the freezer for a little while before we can actually work with it. So that said, I'll go on to the ingredients, and the ingredients are 100 grams, which is about 1 cup of oats, and we're going to pulse these oats or blitz these oats to a much finer crumb. 1 cup of walnuts, again we're going to blitz those to a finer crumb as well. 200 grams, 2 cups of ground almonds, 50 grams, 3.5 tablespoons of vegetable oil, 100 grams, 6 tablespoons plus 1 teaspoon of a plant-based milk. I'm using almond milk. You could use soya, you could use oat milk, you could use coconut if you wanted to. That coconut drink, not the thick creamy coconut milk that comes in cans. I have 150 grams, 6 3/4 tablespoons of golden syrup. Although if you don't have golden syrup, you could use maybe corn syrup, or honey would be very good. 6 grams, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and 6 grams, 1 teaspoon of salt. And the first thing I'm going to do is to process these oats and the walnuts to as fine a crumb as I can get them. So I'm going to put them into the processor bowl of my immersion blender. You could use a food processor. And I'm going to process them. I'll pulse them to start with, and then I'll process them until I've got them very fine. And that's processed them quite finely, and doing the oats and the walnuts together prevents the walnuts from turning into a paste as you process them. So I'm putting those into a larger bowl. Like that, and then I'm going to add in my baking powder and my salt, and I'll give those a mix around. And I'll put the almonds in as well. And again, mix them around. And that's good enough. So then I'm going to pour in the remaining ingredients. The milk, the golden syrup, and the oil. And I'm going to mix that around until it all becomes one well moistened, homogeneous mass. And it's quite wet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that onto some plastic wrap. And I'm going to spread it on in the form of a log or a sausage. And I want that to be about 16 inches long. And that's about right. So then I'm just going to roll that and I'm going to put that into the freezer. And as I chill my cookie dough in the freezer for between 40 and 50 minutes, I think. You could chill it slightly longer as well. As that time comes to an end, I will preheat my oven to 180 degrees Celsius, 160 Celsius with a fan, 350 Fahrenheit, and I'll get 2 baking trays ready with silicone mats or with parchment paper ready to take the cookies. But I will actually bake the cookies in batches because I will have more than 2 baking trays worth of cookies to bake. So I'll come back once the dough has chilled enough and I'm ready to work with it. I actually left my cookie dough in the freezer for 50 minutes. At 40 minutes it still felt a little bit too soft. It's still soft now, but it felt too soft. So I left it in for another 10 minutes as the oven preheated. I'm going to cut the end off and just put that to one side. And then I'm going to cut portions about ½ centimetre thick, and I'm going to put them onto a tray and form them into a round or an oval, just like that, and do the same with the remainder. And I'm leaving a good gap because they're going to spread as they bake. And once I have filled 2 trays, I'll put the remainder back into the freezer to keep that chilled while I bake the first 2 trays. So here I have 18 shaped, and I've shaped them in ovals. You can do them any shape you want really. And I'm going to put those into the oven, and I'm going to bake them for about 20 minutes, 18 to 20 minutes. They should rise up because of the baking powder, which will make them spread. They won't actually spread to fill the pan, but they will expand because of the rising up. And they will brown on the top and brown underneath. And I'll take them out of the oven once they've browned and leave them on the trays for a few minutes before transferring them to a wire rack. Then I will bake the rest, and once they've all baked and cooled down, I'll come back and show you the results. I baked my oat and walnut cookies for 20 minutes. They did brown nicely on top, and they rose and expanded as I said they would. So after they'd cooled for a couple of minutes on the tray, I transferred them to a wire rack, and I'll show you what they look like now. So they've baked up very nicely, and they're sort of firm on the top, and they're going to be nice and chewy on the inside. So I'll have a taste of one. That is very, very good indeed. It's nice and sweet with that golden syrup. I ought to say, if you don't have golden syrup, you could use corn syrup perhaps, if you have maybe a caramelized type of corn syrup, I don't know, or honey would work quite well. But golden syrup is one of my favourites. So it has the golden syrup or the caramelly flavour, but also that earthy flavour from the oats and that lovely walnut flavour as well. So firm on the outside, soft on the inside, and absolutely delicious. Now, one of the other things you could do if you wanted to, once they've cooled down, is perhaps just pipe a little bit of chocolate in sort of zigzags over the top if you wanted to. I don't think it needs it, but it would add to the appearance certainly. So that's going to be it for this recipe. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there'll be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well, and I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.